What is going on? Welcome to another great podcast of Do the Work. I am your host, Carla Araujo, and I'm here with a special guest, Janette Owen.
What's up, everybody?
What is going on?
Hey.
As a reminder, please rate and subscribe or review on your favorite podcast provider and Do the Work. So anyway, moving forward, Janette Owen.
What's up?
So I bring you on, and our topic today is very uncomfortable. It's going to be very uncomfortable for some. We are naming it the Mousy voice. So Janette and I were having this conversation in regards to your voice. It can make you or break you, especially if you're in sales. So in person, you know, we use a lot of body language. So we can, you know, our straight back, assertiveness and tough, and we can swing our arms and cross them and all kinds of things that we can do with our body language to show that we are serious in a conversation. But when it comes to your voice, it can either make you or break you when you're making these phone calls, right? Or when email is one thing too. I mean, you can be a great writer with emails and you can be really tough. But when it comes to that one-on-one over the phone or people hearing your voice, and if you sound, I know it's going to break some, weak, people are going to treat you that way.
You're perceived as weak,
right?
And it's not just the way they sound. It's an attitude as well. So it's kind of the way you carry yourself, and I think that carries over through the phone.
And what are some incidents I know that I've run into? You know, and this is not about male to male or male to woman or woman. It's literally everybody.
Yeah.
I've heard from some gentlemen the other day, if you give that person the open door policy, if they hear it in your voice that you're talking, you know, with the low tone voice, if you're not really assertive, if you're not confident in some of the things that you're saying or speaking, they kind of go in and they kind of take advantage of that without even knowing that they're doing it, right? You're opening up that door for weakness, I guess.
Right.
So I want to talk a little bit about training your voice, training it for success, and what are some of the things that we can do to train our voice. One of the things I did today is I asked somebody that I know is real and raw and honest with me. Like, when you first met me, what did you hear in my voice? How did I come out? Did I come out strong? Did I come out overpowering, aggressive, mean? And they were like, the first answer, I said, when you first met me, what did I come out to say? And they were like, well, this is what I thought, that you were going to close the deal with your voice. Like, you were going to make shit happen, regardless of the outcome, something aggressively it was going to be a great outcome on that, because I knew you were going to be aggressive. You go after what you want. I'm like, wow, that's great. That's a great thing to have, which, by the way, growing up, I didn't have that. I had
It's a learned behavior.
So what are some tools that you can actually do to train your voice?
Well, you need to be on the phone a lot.
Okay.
And I mean, calling and speaking to people. And if you're, well, I thought I'd call. I'm not sure why I called. No. Thought I'd call you to see how you were.
Well, you know,
people would be like, what, Janette? What? I mean, I grew up with, like, tell me what you want.
You know, and it's funny that I grew up like that too. I grew up with a very strong mom. So in the household, we were constantly screaming. And I don't know if I should use screaming, but we were loud. We talk loud.
And my mom does too. And it's like, growing up, just being in business, and the younger kids are on the phone and learning how to be on the phone and speak appropriately on the phone. It's important.
I remember going back when I started sales. I had sales under my belt for many, many years, but going back, I can see myself, I can hear myself back then to now, or it's completely different. It's all the reps that I put in that voice, in really going through ups and downs, because the downs were people were like, I used to get this a lot, which I don't get this at all anymore, because I'm always now, my thing when people tell me you talk really fast, I'm like, well, then keep up, you know, or you talk really loud, like, okay, then why are we talking? Like, then you shouldn't be in this like area of mine. If you can hear me from your car, then go sit in your car. So I'm always very like a smart ass about it now. But growing up, it was like, wow, you know, that kid is really loud. And I started shutting down just people around me. So they started making me feel very insecure. Who would have known that my voice was going to become what it is?
Like a ball of energy. Like fire. Sorry.
Somebody told me.
Fire over the phone.
Somebody was like, man, your voice brings all this energy. I had no idea.
You have so much energy over the phone. It's like, you do. You can almost like hold the phone out and like you can hear Carla's energy.
And I love the way you put that. Energy. when I thought all this was such a negative thing. And it's like, no, my voice travels. It's aggressive. It's nice. It's all these wonderful things. But you can see it where I can see where people are like, Carla, you're always on this high. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it.
Completely nothing.
No, not at all.
But what are some things? I know training your voice. So going back to that.
Well, I think part of it too is not only speaking clearly with people. Don't, try not to stutter.
Yes.
And if your voice shakes, keep practicing being on the phone. I don't care if you need to call your grandma and talk to her or your mom, whoever. But putting the reps in and just speaking clearly.
Right.
And being confident about it. But, be specific on what it is that you're trying to get across.
Going with that, that's exactly what I was going to ask you on that. So the confidence in our voices, right, can be a little bit aggressive. It could be condescending, I think, a little bit. It can be it can be translated in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. Because I believe when someone comes at us with something that we're very firm with, knowing that speaking the truth is mm-hmm. I guess, how can I put this in better words? I guess when you're on the phone and you're trying to make something happen, a sale happen, a closing, whatever the case may be, whatever industry that you're in, and your voice is extremely important in the industry, when you're trying to make something happen and someone tries to overpower your voice, because I know that I get on the phone and when people hear me talk, they try to talk louder and louder. And all of a sudden we have this screaming over the phone. It's like, okay, wait, calm down. Let's have a normal conversation. But mm-hmm. our defense mechanism is literally that voice. If you have already an aggressive, loud voice and going after what you want, mm-hmm. it can become really ugly. It can be crazy. So where do you find that fine line?
Well, you can always... You get a sense for who you're speaking to, and if they're very confident, and I don't care if it's you or I speaking to somebody or somebody that's relatively new, if you're speaking to somebody and they're coming at you like really, really aggressively and like overly confident, let them talk.
Oh, I love it.
Let them listen.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things. People need to learn to listen.
Yeah.
Listen to what they're saying.
Right.
If it keeps going on and on and on, then you can be like, hey, listen, okay, I've heard enough, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But listen to what they're saying and then repeat it back.
Right.
Hey, I hear what you just told me.
Uh-huh.
You think it's really important that I repeat back what it is that I tell you. Like, repeat back what it is that they're saying so that they understand that it's important to you because you've just repeated it back to them.
I love that. I used to be that woman that I had I guess I went through stages in my voice mm-hmm. where, as a kid I was loud and I would go after. I was just aggressive. I was just like, wow, I was out there, and then all of a sudden life just came at me, and it was like, Carla's loud, Carla's this. It was negative, right? So then I started shutting down, and my voice changed for many, many years, and I have so much social media out there on videos and stuff of when I went for my first live video, and I used to be squeaky. And this is why I wanted to name this when you said the Mousy voice. Like, let's name this a Mousy voice.
And Mousy, like not just Mousy voice, but like just weak.
Well, that goes along the line with me. So I wanted to, when you said, let's do this on Mousy voice, I was like, that's going to relate to me, because I remember years back, my voice was exactly that. And if you go to some of my social media, it's like, hey, this is Carla. How is everybody doing?
Oh my
Completely
God.
Fake. And it was like that for years, assuming that my voice, I didn't want to overpower people. So I just would belittle myself in a sense. So I didn't want people to think I was mean or aggressive, all these words that I grew up with that were so negative, which are not. They're extremely, our voice is a powerful tool. It's our instrument, and it can either play really weak or it can play really powerful.
But I think what plays into that is knowing who you are.
Right.
And that's finally what you did. You finally figured out who Carla Araujo is.
Well, I am glad you brought that up. So to you who follow me, who have followed me for many years, and you follow me on this podcast, Do the Work, and also my women event that is coming up. That exactly what it is about. dothework.com/we3. And that's what this event is about. Finding your voice, going after what you want, and not letting anyone get in your way. And what is your story? What is your purpose? That's what that is. So if you're wanting more information on the event that's coming to you, September 27th, 28th, it's dothework.com/we3. Register, apply. or just simply, follow me in my story and my journey. And that's what we have. That is what Find Your Voice means. Exactly what you just said. Let's say it again.
Yeah. Well, I think in order to have a solid voice, you need to know who you are and what you're all about.
I love it.
So, I mean, like, it took Janette Owen going through a whole bunch of crap. And
going after what you want.
Right. But we all go through hard times. I mean, we all do it. But I think it defines who you are, and you become this... Right. Just fierce, badass but it will come across in your voice. If you're solid and you know who you are. Right.
Absolutely love that. And that's exactly what that is. Find your voice.
Yeah.
Knowing who you truly are and going after that. I love it. I love it. I love it. You described it perfectly. And that's who Janette Owen, I mean, you at the beginning of all this was like one person, and now you're a completely different person.
Well, I think when I first maybe even took the designated broker spot, I might have been like, I'm like, if you would have asked me to sit here right now and talk to you,
you would be like, no.
I would have been like, peace out. I am not doing that.
And I remember, and your business was good. It was solid, but there's so much more to know about yourself to get to that next level.
Right.
And one of the things that I remember that when AZ said, let's make a live video, you're like, yeah, I'm not good at that. I'm not doing that. I'm good. But the more reps you got in, the more comfortable you become. And man, you've become a badass.
Yeah, thank you.
One of the reasons why we call her Bab, she's just a badass broker.
Yeah, thanks.
So
we have a badassery here. It's a bakery of badass agents. That's what we have here.
So when people always ask, like, what is it with AZ and Associates out there? And they're doing the work. And that's what it is. We're constantly putting in those reps, learning more and more about ourselves, because our voice is important. It's a powerful tool. And how do you use that? By truly get to knowing what you want and going after that. So I wanted to bring you on, do the work, women event, just because this really has to do with that. So when you set the Mousy voice, that was me. That was me for many, many years.
Mousy, weak people.
Right.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And it was. And people, when you allow, and I asked this individual, a male, I asked him, I said, what do you do when women approach you with that weak voice? He said, it's human nature. I go in and I take advantage of that opportunity, if it's in a sale, because it's just human nature. I mean, I hear the weakness in it. And then you can also sometimes overpower with rudeness. So that's a defense mechanism. It could be on a male or a female, but the defense mechanism is when you show up weak and someone treats you that way, the only way to defend yourself is by rising your voice, but rude, not really standing your ground in more of a, respectful manner.
Well, I think you can. I think if you get caught in it and you're working at trying to improve, speaking with others, and somebody tries to like railroad you, like bulldoze you over, I'd be, listen, I'm not done.
Right.
I'm not done speaking.
And
Let me finish.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that was me for a very long time when people will overpower my voice.
I don't think that's rude.
It would be different though. So let me explain. When people would overpower my voice, when I would show up weak, I'm going to admit that for a long time. And then people would find that opportunity. They would come in, they would stomp on me, and the only way to rise was to be angry. So I would come out and I would just like lash out with anger, and the other person all of a sudden were like, what's your problem? I'm like, you didn't see that you started this first. So he used to come really so I started to get to know myself more, like, whoa, Carla, you're really angry, only angry that you're showing up weak. So once I started being honest with myself on how I was really showing up and where my defense mechanism was like a high, so it would come out aggressive.
Right.
But it was only because I originally was showing up weak. And the only other individual was just doing like what human nature is, just bringing it on and just taking advantage of that moment. And then I would rise up with all this anger. And so I had to sit there for a little bit, like, why am I so aggressive in my voice? Why do I get so angry? It's only because I had to be honest with myself. I was showing up weak.
Well, yeah. And I think a lot of it too is you're going to learn how to read other people.
Yes.
If you're very clear and very direct when you speak to somebody, it will come off that way.
Yes.
But if they're very weak, it's not that you necessarily take advantage, but you're definitely a lot more heard. But you need to, if it's a client or another agent that that I'm speaking to or whatever. I mean, you and I, when we talk, it's like really fast. But sometimes you have to slow it down a little bit.
Yep.
To be respectful to the other side, so that you're not being the one that's bulldozing the other person, right?
we get a lot of this. You completely ignore and shut down. When someone goes and tries to, I guess, put their point across, you completely we've had this a lot here at the brokerage. We completely shut down. I've seen people just shut down because they don't want to put up the fight. They don't want to put up the argument. It's not worth it to them. But it should be worth it. Those are repetitions that you're getting in by putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation and having these awkward conversations with people, and getting on the phone may or may not be your fault. I used to love to say this. I love the one-on-one. I love confrontation. And I used to avoid it at all costs. Now I absolutely love confrontation. Why? Because all it is repetition that I actually need to empower my voice and going after what I want. So that, to me, and I always tell this to people, bring it. I mean, I love that competitive part of me, because I love putting in that confrontation when I have to deal with other individuals, which I do, because I'm in the sales, and while I run a couple of businesses, so I'm always out there. But the confrontation is awesome because I learn so much more about myself. And you said something when you're talking and not listening. That was one of my major flaws. I talked and I didn't listen because I just wanted to get my point across, because I don't like to be wrong, or it was just really. It just wasn't who I was. I just thought for many, many years I was a mousy voice. So now that I can be heard, hey, why not go out?
And I'm calling other agents back. I'm calling customers back that sometimes they're pissed off.
Right. And you have to keep your cool.
And I totally have to keep my cool. And I might want to throw things or go throw some heavy weights around, but later. But I mean, on the phone, I mean, you just got to keep it together.
But I love that you said that, because by you coming on board, by you getting on the phone and making these awkward,
they're uncomfortable.
Right.
Calls.
But you got it done, and you're getting it done every single day by just reps, and getting really uncomfortable in that position. So, and I love it, because that's what we need to do. So a lot of women out there who are holding back on your voice, that you just don't want to speak up and go after what you want. These are all little steps that you can take. Make those conversations. Ask someone that will speak the real truth, the raw and honest truth to you. Like, if they didn't know you and you came across with your, I guess, assertiveness, your voice, would that be? Or do you sound strong? Do you sound powerful? Do you sound weak? How do you sound on the phone with other people? I think those are all practices. I was reading on this, on the sound, the delivery, your voice. What does it sound like to the other person? I think you should ask. And when I asked somebody who is real and raw with me, they were like, you're just very assertive. You're like aggressively knowing that you are going to make shit happen. I'm like, wow, that's a great reputation to have.
But I think one of the best things you can do, but you know who you are.
Right.
And that's what I would tell everybody. It's so important that you know who you are and what you're about, because I think you're your best critic. So, do a live video or video yourself and just start talking to the camera, because I think that you should be doing that anyway. And how do you sound? Are you?
I love
My
it.
name's Janette.
That is one assignment I actually have a lot of my clients do. One assignment that I have is I ask them a series of questions, and they have to answer through video. So they have to record themselves, and they have to send it over to our women group. So by them doing that, it actually they listen to their own voice on how they're actually answering these questions. And the questions are pretty intense, and they're very personal, but they actually start to dig really deep. So when you're actually answering these questions, you're like, wow. And listening to what you're actually saying later on, you're like, wow. And then going back from a year to that point, you're just like, wow, that's how I was showing up.
And it's it's okay when you first start, guys and gals, and you're trying to take a video and your hands are shaking and your voice.
But this is what I love that you said that. This is
but that's what happens. But I think if you're just, be yourself, first of all. Don't try and, I'm not going to start talking very prim and proper, because that's not who I am. So I just, you told me, you said you wanted me to just be Janette, and
Janette,
I bring that every day.
You brought Janette, and that's actually what attracted me. What was attractive when you actually came on board? It was like a yes, I definitely, because you didn't have a filter. And what I mean by that is you obviously didn't come in here all cussing. What I mean by that is your voice was very strong, very powerful. You knew what you wanted, and you came in here with this just positive, this energy that you drove. It wasn't like you trying to be somebody you're not, and I absolutely love that. But you said something.
Thanks, girly.
Yeah, and so you said something right now on if you're actually holding that camera and you're shaking and you're nervous or you can't listen to yourself when you're making a video, how else are you showing up in life?
Well, how do you sound with other people?
Right.
That's why you need to watch those
Right.
videos you do of yourself, because you're going to go, oh my God.
That's how people are seeing you.
That's freaking horrible.
Right.
But I will say the most important thing is do live videos. Don't try and video, because if you're live, you're live. Like, there's no, oh crap, that didn't sound good, let me re-record.
So I always done this. If you criticize other people, other individuals, other women, other men, and you're listening to their videos, they're like, they sound so fucking fake. They're so fake. They sound so fake. How do you sound?
Right.
Because a lot of times that could actually be you when you're on that camera. And if and people who know me today and people who go back to a lot of my stuff are like, wow, you were fake. Completely 100%. It was not. I was trying to be me, but I was taking these baby steps. I had to show up somehow. So it was just little baby steps and repetitions to actually going after, I don't know what was in the pipeline for me. I just kept going, and I became phenomenal at it. But that's exactly that. If you're really critical of other people, that's how people are viewing you. And that's because that's how you're viewing yourself, right? When we criticize, it's only because we're seeing ourselves that way. So just know that if you're showing up weak and just in your voice, if you're showing up mousy, if you're showing up nervous, anxious, doubtful, fear, and all these things behind your voice, how are you showing up in life? Holy smokes.
Yeah, I mean,
start to dissect all that.
Right. I mean, talking to your kid's teacher or the principal at the school or your whoever it is, like, you know.
You want respect. You want people to show you respect. Show yourself that first. Give that energy to yourself. Show up strong, powerful, assertive. Go after what you want with a confidence, knowing that it might or might not happen. It doesn't matter. Have those conversations. Talk to people more. The more you talk, the more you're out there, the more your backbone becomes stronger and you're understanding yourself more and more as to why and things are happening in life that are not happening for you, or why you're showing up the way you are showing up. Start to really dissect yourself within your voice. I mean, that's a powerful tool. Our voices are extremely, extremely powerful. And if you show yourself that respect, just from your voice alone, you'll open up that energy, that door for other people to treat you the same way. But if you're showing up weak, if you're showing up with a voice, with a low tone voice, with a weak handshake, that's exactly how people are seeing you, viewing you, and treating you. That weak handshake is extremely important to really understand. If you don't give a firm handshake because you're a woman and you can't grab onto that grip of another man or another woman, that's exactly how they're going to treat you.
But you're going to have men.
Because the norm of a man.
I go right in.
Yes. Grab that hand. A man will give you the 4 fingers. Why? Because that is originally how you're showing up. If you're allowing yourself to be called sweetheart, honey, that's how they're thinking you are. You're just a child. You can be in your 30s, 40s, 50s. If a man treats you a certain way and gives you a weak handshake, that's how they're viewing you. From the outside, in your voice, in your energy. You give that energy, that's what you're going to get back, the weak energy. So what do? Get in there. Get your feet wet. Get uncomfortable. Have conversations. Let people criticize you. Let people dislike you. Just get in there. It's a beautiful thing. Confrontation is amazing. It becomes powerful to you when you start to really get to know, like, wow, I don't like confrontation. Why don't you like confrontation? Why? Then you're honestly not being honest with yourself or other people around you. You're not having those conversations that you need to have, right? Confrontation is amazing. It's pretty neat.
I think there are some people that are going to shy away. It's just different personalities, right? And that's fine. But if you're not confrontational, I know I'm just like you, where I'm like, I want to get in there and figure out what's up, and I want you to be direct with me, right, and tell me that. Some people may not be like that, and if they're not, at least when you speak to other people, be direct,
right,
and very to the point. What do you want?
Right.
What do you want them to hear from you? And be specific.
What message do you want to come across?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to convey that message, and you're just, and
I think a lot of us too, we avoid providing that message that we need to provide. So we kind of go around it with the sweet, I guess, a sweet body language or a sweet tone of voice, and we don't really come out with the message that we need to come out with, just because we're trying to avoid it at all costs. So instead of just being very direct, firm, and getting to that point, things would change.
Right.
Things would change.
Right.
But as to the confrontation, Janette, that's one of the major things and I wanted to bring you and have this conversation with you because that's what I got so much respect, because the confrontation was like, hey, lady, tell me how it is. This is what it is. This is what I want. And you were very clear in your message. I'm very clear in our message. And we don't look at it as, I guess, we don't look at it offensive.
No,
where,
like I think you're being bitchy.
Yeah.
No, it's just the
There
way
we
that
are.
it is.
It's the way it is. We're very
It's just
straightforward.
just very direct.
Yeah, very direct.
Carla, what is it that you want? What do you want? What? Go. I just answer my phone when Carla calls now. I'm going to just go.
And for some of you who don't, who are following us and do the work now, she's actually our broker at AZ & Associates. And so that's why we call her Bab. And she's a badass broker, and she's hired on with AZ & Associates, so she's incredible. And yes, she's a woman. So this place is powered by women.
A woman.
Direct women who say the truth and speak it all.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
Janette, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome,
Anything
Carla.
more you want to say?
Anything
you want to say?
Girlie?
So give some advice. Talk to us.
Yeah,
about being a woman.
Yeah,
and being in your position. This is a powerful position
yeah,
that you're in right now.
I do a lot of CrossFit. So I mean, if I'm frustrated or whatever, I mean, I let a lot of that out. I think everyone needs an outlet, and you need to know who you. I think the advice I can give people, guys or gals, know who you are, and if you're unsure and you're unhappy, figure out why are you unhappy, and what's it going to take to make you happy. So. I think that's huge to be able to, and then know and go after what it is that you want.
I love it. I love it.
Don't complain, and nobody likes a complainer. Nobody. I mean, when you don't want to be that person. Then when they're like, oh, by the way, don't call Janette and ask her how she's doing. She's gonna go off on
the complainer
and the reputation.
Like,
don't do that. Nobody wants to hear.
Yep, I agree. The complainer reputation.
But it's know who you are.
I love it.
That's my advice.
Be free. Be free in finding your voice.
Yep.
And that's what it's about. And thank you so much for joining me on Do the Work. Again, my event is September 27, 28. If you want more information, you can go to dothework.com/we3. That's dothework.com/we3 to apply. And you'll have that one-on-one with me. This event's that's what it's for, finding your voice, going after what you want, and being honest with yourself, rising those stories to the top and dissecting them. Thank you for joining me at Do the Work, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.